From real estate to real life and everything in between, The Brad Weisman Show. And now, your host, Brad Weisman.
All right, we are back. Thank goodness we're back. I'll tell you what, the reason I'm laughing is that the guest that we have today is just probably one of the most passionate, brave souls that I've had on the show ever. I learned about her through like a management company, and they said you should have her on your podcast. And I looked her up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then, the last couple of days I've been researching her. This lady is unbelievable. She has gone up against the IRS. She actually did jail time because of going up against the IRS. She worked for the IRS at one point. She's a CPA, also a certified fraud examiner, and she's helped over 100,000 individuals and businesses keep, protect, and grow their earnings using her proprietary KPG system. She's got 35 years of experience. Sherry is an expert in tax reduction and wealth building. Through her speaking, books, and consulting, she has shared her wealth of knowledge, not to just educate, but also create lasting wealth and security. Dr. Jackson is the author of impactful books like How to Escape the Rat Race. Also, with social media of 44,000 people following her, she's just amazing. And I want to bring her on because I want her to tell her story about how she went up against the IRS, who she calls the beast, actually. How you doing, Sherry?
Hi, Brad. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome.
I actually call them the insidious representatives of Satan.
That was the other thing I heard you say. This what I'm saying. Like everything that you say cracks me up. So yeah, what is it? The insidious what is it again?
Representatives of Satan.
The insidious representatives of Satan. If I can remember that, I'm going to use that if you don't mind. I love it. But so you worked for the IRS. How did you, and once again, it's Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson, right?
Yeah.
And what do you have your doctorates in, just before we get started?
I have a doctorate in ministry concentrating on Christian education. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then you also have your CPA and all those other things. And
well, I'm a retired CPA. I retired based on what, we're going to talk about. I got rid of all those licenses.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Your story is amazing. It really is. So let's go backwards. So you worked for the IRS, right?
Yes.
And okay, so what was that like working at the IRS? I mean, were you busting people's chops all the time, or what was your position in the IRS?
We were supposed to be busting people's chops, but I wanted to be fair with the people because what I saw was a disparity where the larger corporations that had CPAs and attorneys, they would get off. They would have the negotiation, and then they would, go to appeals and all that. But the poor mom and pop, they didn't have money for an attorney, and they were the low-hanging fruit. So when I audited them, I was trying to be gentle and make sure that they didn't go out of business, because I didn't want to see anybody go out of business.
No, I understand. So you had a heart. So you were one of the only people at the IRS to have a heart, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they hire people based on the fact that they don't have a life or they don't have a heart, because they want mean, hard people.
Get out of here.
They were not going to hire me because I had a cold when I went in for my interview, and I was talking very low, and they said, well, you're too soft. And I said, no, I'm not soft. I have a cold,
So you have to prove you're not soft.
I did.
It's probably the only job in the world where they say, oh, you're not bad enough. We need you to be really, really mean.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Well, they want intimidation. That's really what they want.
Yes.
The whole thing is about intimidation.
It is. The whole tax system is run by intimidation.
It's incredible. Now you're not the only one that felt the way after you left the IRS. Now, did you quit? Did you get let go? Did they walk you out the door because you weren't mean enough? I mean, what happened?
I quit the IRS. It didn't have anything to do with me learning that the income tax is being misrepresented and misapplied. I actually, as a Christian mother and wife, I felt like they were getting too much of my time. I was moving up in rank and having to spend much more time on the job than I needed to. My family was suffering. I would be fighting with CPAs and attorneys and come home with a headache and feed my children peanut butter and jelly. And that just was not to be so.
Yeah, no, not good. It's not a life. That's not the life you wanted. Yeah. And you, that's amazing. So you get from that. So now once you get out, and I know you also said there's other people that were in the IRS. There's a lot of people. I shouldn't just say other people. There's a lot of people that end up leaving there and realizing that this wasn't really what most people think is going on. Like, this is not, they're not nice. they're beating up the people that are giving them the money, which to me is just amazing. If I was always taught, if you wanted money, be nice. You know what I mean? But that's not the theory. And they treat us also like we're the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the phone with the IRS. I mean, I know what it's like. They treat you like you're the enemy, and it's just not a fun thing. So you go from that, you leave the IRS. Now, what makes you go to the next step, which is basically saying to people, you know what? I don't know. This doesn't seem right. Why are we doing this? Why are we spending all this money to the IRS?
So there were people that I guess were afraid to talk to me about it when I was an agent. But when I left and started my CPA firm, people from all walks of life started to come to me and say, hey, you know what? I hear the income tax has been misrepresented and misapplied to the American people. It was from, people on the streets all the way up to, there was a Texas state senator that came to me and said that when we were in a meeting. So I'm thinking to myself, there are a lot of different people saying that this is a fraud thing here. So let me, put that in the back of my head. After that, my CPA firm is running and everything. And one of my clients said, I need you to talk to this lady. She's giving me all this information. So this lady literally water hosed me down with information. And then 2 weeks later, she said, hey, you need to go pick up the USA Today. They have an article in there, full page ad, and it's saying all the stuff I told you a couple of weeks ago. So here we go. I went and found a paper stand, and then there was a full page ad by a group called We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education. And it said, Dear We the People, income tax is a fraud. Within the body of that paper were two things that caught my eye. Number one, there was a $50,000 challenge from a guy named William Conklin to prove that we had to file and pay income tax, the people that live and work in the 50 states. And then there was another one. There was a former IRS Criminal Investigation Division agent that had written a report. He took 2.5 years of his own time on weekends and in the evenings investigating all these crazy people that said the income tax was a fraud. And at the end of the 2.5 years, he wrote a report and basically said, these people are right, and I'm supposed to be upholding the Constitution.
Wow.
Well, when he turned in this report, they told him, you need to take a couple of days off to decide whether you're going to drop this thing or tender your resignation because we're not answering this thing. And he took some days off, and then he resigned. So they put the little report in a book, and I wanted to get those books. And when I did order the books, he called me and said he almost fell out of his chair. So we all started to combine and join based on the fact that all of us were kind of getting to the same conclusion.
Wow. And you're doing that individually.
Yes.
It's not like it's because a lot of times in a conspiracy type setting, you're doing it together. You come together for something, and then all of a sudden it becomes, but when you're finding out the same truths all separately and then come back and come together and share notes, and you're like, wait a minute, that's what I saw.
Yes.
That's what I saw. And I saw you on another podcast or a show where you said that when you guys would be on the phone at the IRS, they would give you pamphlets. They didn't really give you the laws of what was in the books. It was like, no, here's what we're saying you need to say or you need to do.
Right. So we went through several series of training from the time I walked in the door and all the way up until I left. And these trainings were based on booklets that were put together. We didn't have the thick code books or the regulations. They were pamphlets that were put together, and you learn the pamphlet and you get an A and you keep moving forward.
Wow. That's amazing. So at a certain point, you guys got together and there's people like yourself who say, you know what, this is unconstitutional. I don't believe the federal government has the right to collect a federal income tax, which do any of us actually even know where that's written? Is there a place that's written that there's federal income tax?
It's interesting that you say that because besides myself, there were several others that were actually prosecuted. One of them was a Shreveport, Louisiana lawyer named Tommy Cryer. Tommy Cryer, when he went to trial, he took a 109-page memo. It was a thick memo, and he got a chance to sit there and tell the jury all these Supreme Court cases and state Supreme Court cases that say that income is corporate profits. Tommy Cryer was acquitted 3 months before my trial. When my trial came up, they sent people from Washington, D.C. to prosecute me. They would not let me use Tommy Cryer's information. Every time I started to talk about the law, the judge would say, I will instruct the jury on the law. So when a football team, Brad, is 100% winning and they lose to somebody, the first thing they do on Monday morning is go back to the drawing board and figure out what we need to do not to lose again.
They look at the tapes.
Exactly.
They look at the tapes. They
Right.
know what they do is they cover it and they go, okay, we know what this quarterback's going to do. We know what this person's going to. So what they did is they looked at the tapes and said, we can't have this happen again.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the whole system would fold.
Right. So income is corporate profits.
Are your kitchen and bathroom remodels a little overdue? Well, now's your chance to call First Response Contracting. John Sellers will take care of you. 484-256-7136. They do residential and commercial, and they're licensed and insured. Give them a call at 484-256-7136. Income is corporate profits.
Let me give you an example. And I think I need to break it down for people. You and I make an agreement that I'm going to cut your grass in exchange for $100. I come to your house. I cut your front and backyard. I use my arms, I use my legs and my brain to cut your grass. In exchange for the $100, I used my life force. I'll never get that time back. Right. So that's an even exchange. And if we flip the coin over to the smallest Walmart in the United States, yesterday they made $100,000, but they have utilities, they have rent, they have salaries to pay and all kind of other expenses. And let's say out of that $100,000, $80,000 of that was expenses. Yeah. They don't pay tax on the $100,000 that they made yesterday. They only pay tax on the $20,000 that's left. Mm-hmm. That's corporate profit, and that's what we've learned was taxable, not our life force. Our founding documents say we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they have certain unalienable rights. Unalienable rights.
I heard you say that before. Is it really unalienable rights?
Unalienable. What is inalienable?
Well, I always thought that. I always thought somebody was going to come down a flying saucer when they say that. Right. I mean, I was always like, and I just never asked because I'm thinking people are like, he's dumb if he doesn't know that. Yeah. But it's unalienable.
Unalienable. In the original documents, there's a UN, not an A. Now, people say they mean the same thing, but words have been used to trick people. Like, remember when Bill Clinton was saying it depends on what the definition of is?
Yep. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Yep. So you have to be careful about words and unalienable. We have God-given unalienable rights, and right now they're being usurped.
Yeah, interesting. And it's happening more and more, unfortunately, everywhere. We're losing our freedoms. Yes, more and more. So now USA versus Sherry Peel Jackson, number 0810651, 11th Circuit Court, 2008. Yes. How did that go?
It was a 3-ring circus because I didn't get a chance to do the things that, let's go back. Remember Joe Bannister? Joe Bannister's the guy that wrote the book, and he had a trial first, and he was the darling of the tax movement, and they just knew they were going to get him. He had a thinking jury. His lawyers got a chance to show video of him teaching people, and at least 9 times in the video, he said, because I went out to California and spent 2 weeks out there for his trial. He was saying, I'm not telling you what to do, but this is what I learned. I'm not telling you what to do, but this is what I learned. Yes. They didn't let me show any videos. They didn't let me do any of the things that Joe did. They didn't let me do any things that Tommy did. Every time I tried to explain to the jury where I came up with the fact that the income tax is being misrepresented, she would shut me down. So it was a 3-ring circus.
You know what's funny? So the jury was afraid. I mean, I'm thinking right now I'm going to get audited again. Yes. Because I have you on the show. I mean, I might as well just open the door right now, give them my wallet, all my paperwork, and that's about it. But seriously, people are afraid. What was interesting too, when I saw the actual I thought I printed it out, but I didn't. The docket of that, when it said that you were guilty or whatever, there was a thing at the bottom where there's a statement that basically it was put into that finding or the final finding that is there to scare the crap out of everybody. Mm-hmm. And I forget exactly what it said, but when I read it, I'm like, oh boy, this no wonder nobody wants to go against this because it's such a threat. Right. To anybody else trying to come up with, or saying that this is true, what you're saying, you know what I mean? It's incredible. It really is.
Right. I've come across people that said, I don't care what the law says. I care what the IRS can do to me. And I think that's the consensus for at least 95% of the people in the country.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, yeah, it's probably more than 95% of the people in the country. Let's go moving on. So tell us about the book you wrote, How to Escape the Rat Race. What's that about?
Okay, so, of course, The prison thing came along. I hit rock bottom and started to dig. I lost my marriage and everything,
Ugh.
and I had to start over. So
Yeah.
I developed the KPG system, which is keep, protect, and grow what you earn,
Oh, I love
and
that.
turned that into a book, How to Escape the Rat Race: 4 Keys to Acquire the Life of Your Dreams. There are 4 things that I did, and they have little categories, but 4 things that I did to make sure that I got back to 6 figures again. I was
Yeah.
not going to stay down like that. My father always bragged about the fact that he raised me in such a way that if you dropped me out of a helicopter in the middle of Siberia on a banana peel, I would still survive and I would thrive. And he was right.
And I don't doubt that you would. I know you would. I can tell.
Yeah. So basically, the escaping the rat race includes, first of all, getting out of debt. It includes increasing your income once you're getting out of debt. It includes making sure you're saving and making sure you're investing properly. And
Yeah.
so in the book, I go through all of those things, creative ways to get out of debt and decrease your expenses, and all the way up to investing, international investing. I'm a budding real estate investor. I
Oh,
have
cool.
property in Costa Rica internationally. And
I saw that on your Facebook page, I think. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, Costa. I heard it's beautiful down there.
It
I've
is
never been.
beautiful. It is.
Yeah, good for you. Now you have an investment property down there, or is it just somewhere? Is that where you go to just vacation?
Yeah, I do rent it out when I'm not there, and then I'm building also, and that'll also be rental income. I like multiple streams of income, and that's what I
Good for
teach
you.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, real estate's the place to do it too. It's
exactly.
there's some good passive income. You know what I always say to people, they talk about the stock market, talk about everything else you can invest in. Real estate is never worth zero.
Right.
It might depreciate, or it might go down in value. We'll go back up, it might come back down, but it's never worth zero.
Right.
Enron was worth zero after people invested and it went down. When people lie that are in positions of CEOs and stuff, and the companies go under, you're done. You lose everything that you put into it.
Yes.
So the nice thing about real estate is you're in control of it, and it's never worth zero. That's
Exactly. I
awesome.
have no IRAs, 401ks, mutual funds, stocks, or bonds at all. I believe in hard assets. Real
Yeah,
estate
good for
is the
you.
biggest hard assets that I have. Something that I
Yeah.
can hold in my hand like silver and gold, and something I can plant my feet on.
Good for you. She's awesome. I told you she was good, right? You guys, she's great.
Right.
She's tough too. So did you have siblings too?
Well, I had a brother. He died when I was 18,
Oh.
so I've been an only child since 18.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Sorry for your loss. That
Yeah, thank
stinks.
you.
So tell me about, this is the one I really was into, the guide to cutting taxes without risking an IRS audit. What are the red flags for an IRS audit? You should know that, because as a self-employed person, also a company, I own partners with I have 2 partners for Keller Williams here, and
Okay.
we're owners. And there's a lot of things. You have LLCs, you have corporations. You always think about those red flags. Like if we do something, even if it's not wrong, but is it a red flag to say, oh, we got to audit these guys?
Yes, there are several red flags. Usually they're along the sole proprietor. They like the low-hanging fruit. They don't like to send
Realtors.
IRS agent into the corporations with the attorneys and all that. It's easier to pick on the mom and pop companies. The biggest red flag that people have, I believe, is using round numbers on your expenses. They know that that's a guess. So, for example, when I used to audit tax returns done by H&R Block and those companies, 99.9% of the time there were adjustments, because the people would come into the H&R Block and they'll say, oh, I think my expense was whatever, and all those rounded numbers. When you come into an audit, well, when I would go, because I was a field agent, I would go out to the audit, they didn't have those receipts. The major problem that people have in the situation where they're audited is they don't keep the receipts. If you don't keep the records, then it's a gotcha situation. Another red flag is that you have a home-based business, which, that's something that we all need to do. Small businesses are the backbone of this United States.
Absolutely.
And we need to have them, but we just need to keep our records. One of the other things that they look for is excessive travel expenses. They look for excessive mileage, those type of expenses and there's the standard deduction is basically taking away the itemized deduction. So you don't have much of an issue there anymore. When you move up in rank on the IRS, you start auditing like partnerships and corporations, C corps and S corps. It gets a little dicier because these people have attorneys and CPAs that basically know how to get around things, and that's where the great tax credits come in. But the little people can do it too. They just 9 times out of 10 don't know about it.
Yeah. So what's interesting, and I always think about this too. If you're getting a W-2, it's really hard to not hide. It's really hard to get any kind of benefit from the IRS. Hey guys, I want to take a second and thank Comfort Pro. Since 2001, Comfort Pro has been helping customers stay comfortable where they live, work, and play. They have 24/7 emergency service and a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. If you need help with your heating and air conditioning or indoor air quality, call Comfort Pro at 484-917-1803. Mention the show and receive a free humidifier with the installation of a complete system. If you're getting a 1099 or you're getting, K1s and things like that, it tends to be a little bit, there's definitely more loopholes or more ways to save a couple bucks. And it's, like I said, I'm not saying they're illegal. I'm saying following the rules, but you can definitely get, some more benefit from that. Then W-2, I don't know how you could ever how you can do anything.
They love the W-2 because, again, the W-2 people don't have but maybe 7 deductions, but when you have your own business, or even if you are just you're a 1099er, you can write off everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So don't write off the kitchen sink though, because that's a red flag, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Kitchen sink. Exactly.
Definitely.
Actually, if you're taking business use of home and you do your work in your kitchen, if you have a special area of your kitchen that you do, you can write that off.
Yeah, we were told as realtors, and when you said about the home office, we were told as realtors, because we're 1099, we work for ourselves, that they always say, yes, you can definitely write off an office in your house, but be very careful because it is a red flag.
It is a red flag. However, you take your measurements and keep up with everything, add up your utilities, add up all of that, and then
it's a percentage of the house, right?
Exactly.
It's really what it is. Yeah.
If you have your documents, then you're gonna have a no change audit at the end of the day, which means that they audited you, there are no changes, and normally they don't touch you for at least 3 more years after that if you get a no change.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one too. When I got audited, I always felt it's pretty much their word against yours and they win. It seemed that way for me. Because I had a CPA, a really well-known one in the area, doing my taxes. But when they came up with this thing, and it was just a dumb thing, and my exposure was only $4,000. So it wasn't like it was a ton of money that's all they made extra, which I thought was interesting. They had this person come out for 4 or 5 days. I'm thinking they didn't make any money off of me. Think about it. Like for $4,000, that's that person's, that's their salary or whatever, maybe. So, but what was interesting is, I'm sure I got my train of thought. Yeah. So when they came out, they were saying, "Oh, well, you did this wrong." Well, my accountant's like, "Well, no, the letter of the law says this," and then they're like, "Well, that's your interpretation." I was like, "What is this? The Bible?" You know what I mean? Like everybody has a different interpretation. It was interesting. So it's like it's your word against theirs, and you have somebody that's very educated that's doing your taxes. At the end of the day, the IRS goes, "No, you're wrong." That's the way it felt. That's the way it felt to me.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. That happens. But then if you threaten to appeal, then things can change, because when it gets to the appeals department, then they don't want to take this to court, and they usually will acquiesce.
Oh, interesting.
I've had several cases where the attorney or the CPA was fighting with the IRS agent. And then, once they got it to the appeal situation, they dread going to court. They don't like to spend.
They don't like to go.
They're interested in dollars for hours, just like you said.
Yep.
And they figured that to fight that one wasn't going to be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. That accountant is no longer my accountant. They got fired after that because here's a little quick story. So what ended up happening, my exposure was $4,000, right? Well, the accountant firm that was helping me get through this charged me $9,000 to fight it. And I said to them, wait a minute. If you knew my exposure was $4,000, why did you let me spend $9,000 to fight it? I would have rather just paid the IRS the $4,000.
Right.
Because now I'm at $13,000 out, Right. So they got fired after that. So
you have to remember also that CPAs are scared. I've had clients come in.
Oh, I bet.
Hey, my accountant told me to kind of hold $5,000 worth of expenses over here to the side just in case we get audited. And I was appalled.
Right.
You deserve those expenses now. They're the ones that are afraid.
Yeah. We're all afraid of the IRS. I mean, come on, except for you. We know you're not afraid of the IRS. So, okay. So before we get done here, I just want to go through some other stuff. What are you doing now? You're going out there and telling this story. Is that your passion now, is to get the word out to as many people as possible, to let them know that you don't have to pay a ton of money, that you can use the law the way that's written and save some money?
What I do is I teach people the KPG system. I teach them to keep, protect, and grow what they earn. So
I
if
love
they're
it.
business owners that are floundering because they're drowning in taxes, or highly paid employees that want to escape the rat race. In other words, even if you're making, like, I've got clients that make over $300,000, but they don't have any deductions. So what I do
Yeah.
is help them start a home-based business, and
Yeah.
the real estate or whatever they want to do, so that they will have deductions, because right now they don't have any.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your favorite? So real estate's your favorite. So if I came to you right now, I say, look, I'm making $300,000 a year. It's all W-2'd. I have my house right off. That's it. My taxes are not that high. My income, my property taxes.
Mhm.
And what do you suggest? You say, go buy some real estate, or is that what you would say?
Well, there are different things. A real estate professional, you get to write off the passive income again. It turns from passive income into active income.
Yep.
So you get that, write that off. Also, short-term rentals can
Yeah.
get you more write-offs, and the depreciation from all that. So yes, there are
Yes.
several things that surround starting some kind of a business.
Yeah. Do you hear they're talking about trying to get rid of the 1031 tax exchange?
No, I did not.
Oh
That's
yeah. It's a
scary. That
bill
is
it's a bill in
scary.
Congress. It's a bill
That's
in Congress.
scary.
Yeah, if that gets passed, that's bad news. That's
Well,
bad
the
news.
unrealized capital gains is even worse.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So yeah.
that one to me blows my mind. So we're gonna get taxed. We're gonna get taxed on something I don't even see. I don't even
Right. So are
have.
you going to give the people losses if is it
That's what I
unrealized
keep
loss?
saying. If your stock goes down afterwards, let's just say in 2024, I make $50,000
Mhm.
on my stock gains, or on my 401k, whatever it is.
Right.
So I pay tax on it that year. So the
Right.
next year it drops by 50. Do I get it back?
Right.
I
I
highly
I
doubt that.
haven't seen anything that says it does. So that's the whole thing. They're just making up stuff, and the bottom line is people need to decide what they're going to do for themselves and family. I
Yeah.
personally don't want all of my resources taken away by the insidious representatives of Satan. So what I do is I make sure that all of my ducks are in a row, and that I use the tax code. The tax code is written for businesses. We learned that when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were debating in 2016. She said Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes, and everybody sucked all the wind out of the room. The man said, "I'm a smart man." Well, he's a smart man.
He's a very smart man.
So he knows
Yeah.
how to use the tax code for his benefit, and that's what I teach people also.
And that's the part that they victimize people when they use the code that they wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, they wrote the code. If it's legal and I don't have to pay tax that year because of the code you wrote, why are you making a jerk out of me? It
Right.
doesn't make sense, right? It's not right. It's just definitely not
Intimidation
right.
again.
You know what I really like too is, I want you to do this. You did a really good impression of the judge
Okay.
that sentenced you. Do you remember what you said on
I
that?
do. I'll never forget that,
Can
because
you,
again,
because you do the Southern accent and everything.
yes, he was a Southern judge, and after
This
they
is
came
funny.
back with the 4 counts on mind you, Brad, it's a misdemeanor charge. I got put in
How did you get
prison
4 years for
4
misdemeanor?
years, because there were 4 years that I made 6 figures, and I didn't file the tax returns because I was
Right,
keeping what I earned,
right.
and they, instead of doing them concurrent all at the same time, because it was only one charge of willful failure to
Ah,
file, which is a misdemeanor, they
yes.
did them consecutive, and they gave me a 4-year sentence. And then when we went to sentencing, the prosecution asked for an upward departure, so I got more time than the normal time would have been,
Unbelievable.
because they called me a subversive or whatever it was. But she said to me, after I'm arguing, because I fired the attorney, and I'm arguing for myself with the help of some other people that put some paperwork together. And she looked at me and she says, "I know you homeschool your children, Miss Jackson, and I know you got a lot of family support, but you can't run around the country telling people not to file income taxes." And I looked at her in the face and I said, "I've never done that." Because I've never done that. We
Yeah,
made a pact to never tell people to file or not
exactly.
to file, or pay or not to pay. We were just sharing the information that we learned concerning the income tax.
Yeah, and then they make their own decision.
Right,
We're all adults. I mean, nobody can ever force you to not file your income taxes.
right,
Nobody can ever force you to not pay your income taxes.
right,
We're adults. We give the information. It's like anything else. You give the information, you make the decision that you need to make from that.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to bring you on here, is because of that. I wanted to get get this idea. It's an idea, and it's a conversation that I think needs to happen, because if we don't have people like yourself starting to butt the system, or just say, let's think about it a different way, I think they will tax us to death. They
look
really
at how
will.
the country started. Taxation without representation. We're
Yeah.
right back there again. Who's
Yeah.
representing me?
Well, and
Yeah,
my
and
thing
I won't
too.
get on my soapbox about the things that are going on in this country. You all know that, but that's not representing me at all. As a matter of fact, it's draining my pockets. I need to have myself and my family in a position where we have a great life, just like the Federal Reserve owners and the others.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So I'll tell you what, we're going to have to wrap it up. But I really, really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm excited about having you on again sometime.
I'd like
How's that sound? Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. That'd be great. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks so much.